So here we are again, Liam, not having played the latest game in a blockbuster franchise, and so forced to debate what the best one in the series is.
Yeah, but it isn't all bad, right? I mean, some people like reminiscing.
Well, you're only saying that because out of the 500 plus viewers who voted on our poll from the last Franchise Wars video...
Not my fault that the contrarian choice was the winner, mate. Sorry your neon apocalypse didn't cut the proverbial open world mustard.
Right, well your choice may have been the runaway success last time, but with Call of Duty Vanguard out today, I'm determined to stand up for what is easily the best Call of Duty entry.
Aaron, are you aware I'm doing Call of Duty 4? I mean, from my perspective, this isn't even a fair competition, mate.
Damn. Well, be warned. I've got you in my sights, Richardson, and I'm going to win over the folk by standing up for the original Black Ops.
Oh yeah, going for Black Ops, are you? Well, give me a call, Aaron, when you find out what the numbers mean or whatever.
Oh, I will. So anyway, do you want to do the dramatic transition voice this time to get things going?
Yeah, sure. May the franchise wars commence. Is that alright?
I don't want to outright call it a day and claim victory right away, Liam, but I don't think I'm being too hyperbolic when I say that the story found in the original Black Ops is arguably the most ambitious Call of Duty has ever told. Heavily steeped in 1960s history, during the infamous Cold War between the USA and USSR when tensions were at their absolute highest, it's a spiritual continuation of events that occurred in 2008's World at War and focuses on the efforts of an elite CIA group trying to take down the Red Curtain from within. These espionage exploits would be enough to cement Black Ops' narrative as an all-timer alone, but it goes even further by tapping into real-life elements of warfare that we'd never seen in a Call of Duty game before, such as sleeper agents, chemical warfare, and brainwashing. You play primarily as Alex Mason, a man trapped to a chair while being investigated throughout the majority of the campaign. Events leading up to this scenario occur via flashback, seeing you undertake missions through the likes of Vietnam, Cuba, and Washington, all in the effort to prevent the spread of a gaseous weapon known only as Nova 6. If you can't already tell, the original Black Ops offered a lot more narrative depth than simply go here, shoot this, and blow that up. As Alex Mason, you get to identify with the efforts of this covert CIA team, deconstruct his relationship with the mysterious Viktor Reznov, and go about saving the world that doesn't even know it's in need of saving. Combine this with one of the best end twists found in any shooter period, and a notably grungier tone compared to what most Call of Duty fans would have been used to up until that point, and Black Ops is still a narrative tour de force with plenty of brains as well as brawn.
It's actually really hard to talk about Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare because what is there to say that hasn't already been said by journalists or content creators or even your mate Dean, who doesn't really play video games anymore because he has 2 kids, but whenever you're down the pub and you're talking about the PlayStation 5, he'll interrupt you in between sips of overpriced neck oil to look off in the distance and go, aye, but you know what? Call of Duty 4 on the Xbox 360. Nah, those were the days. It's never been better than that. Still, the simple fact remains. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare isn't just the most important Call of Duty game. It marked a turning point for video games as a medium. It's a landmark release that dictated the direction of the industry for over a decade. Now, we'll discuss its multiplayer mode in just a moment, but we can't talk about Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare without mentioning its campaign. The first title in the franchise to take place in the modern era, rather than focusing on a campaign of World War II, Modern Warfare whisked players on a globe-trotting journey to take down Imran Zakhaev, an arms dealer responsible for uprisings in both Russia and West Asia. Despite its slightly more grounded setting, COD 4's narrative is as brisk and thrilling as your average summer blockbuster. The game's cast of exaggerated hoorah military veterans are a joy to spend time with, the mustachioed Captain Price being the cigar-smoking highlight. But of course, it was the varied mission design that made COD 4 stand out at the time. No 2 missions are quite the same, with players battling through a TV station 1 minute before jumping into the gunner's seat on an airplane to provide nighttime air support in the next. Then, of course, there is all Gillied Up, a stealth mission set within the Chernobyl exclusion zone that is such an extraordinary achievement, the series has never quite managed to reach that high again. But for me, the defining moments of Call of Duty 4's campaign or when the game takes away your guns entirely, leaving you completely vulnerable. Not only is your character executed within the game's first act, but another of your playable protagonists is also killed via a nuclear bomb in what is easily the franchise's most powerful sequence. There is a finality to this sequence, a genuine sense of abject despair that no other military shooter managed to encapsulate before this point. It's a masterclass in timing, framing, and narrative design. It is one of the many things that makes Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare one of the greatest games of all time.
The famous expression dictates that the past is a different country, and this is definitely a sentiment I can't help but subscribe to whenever I revisit the original Black Ops. The 1960s simply provides a different type of atmosphere and feel than anything you'd find in Modern Warfare, or really any other Call of Duty game released since. Just how many more times can we run through the same trenches of World War II exactly? The air is smoky, Gimme Shelter by the Rolling Stones is blasting out of almost every chopper, and you simply cannot move for federal agents donning a pair of aviator sunglasses, or maybe that's just Agent Hudson. Call of Duty Black Ops was the first time in the series that you got to rub shoulders up against real-life historical figures and events that sit outside of the World War II setting. And it made for a very different flavour of shooter that allowed Treyarch to infuse its missions with added authenticity, while still being able to have fun. The game also does an exceptional job at reminding you of the Black Ops espionage theme, blacking out certain mission elements as if they're a classified file at the beginning of every level, and seeing red numbers constantly flicker on the screen every now and then. Aspects like these further convince you that this is a setting and time in history shrouded in secrecy. The Cold War as a setting was relatively untapped until Black Ops came along, but it grounded you there beautifully.
So I'll be brief with my argument for this section because I've kind of already touched on the setting of Modern Warfare in my previous point, but it still bears expanding upon. The most memorable thing about Call of Duty 4's various locales is just how different they felt at the time of the game's release. Although Battlefield, Counter-Strike, and Rainbow Six had all featured locations set within the modern era, the framing of Call of Duty 4 felt different. Although at the time, COD 4 was described by critics as being a playable piece of news footage due to its incredible graphic fidelity, in hindsight, Modern Warfare's setting marked the series fully pivoting into the realms of fiction, arguably for the better. The game takes place in a version of reality as seen through the lens of an 80s action movie. It offers a very westernized depiction of the world that is completely preposterous, but aids the game's ludicrous narrative of a sinister organization aiming to restore the former Soviet Union. Previous entries in the franchise focused on actual conflicts, real-life events that took place during one of the most devastating human events in history. By comparison, Modern Warfare takes place on a soundstage, where larger-than-life heroes and villains do battle to save the world. Sure, the sets are unrealistic and not reflective of actual locations in any way, but they serve as an entertaining backdrop for the thrill ride of the generation. Call of Duty would go on to struggle with its handling of tone, with future games in the series unable to toe the line between absurdist fiction and grim reality as successful as it did here in Modern Warfare.
Again, Call of Duty Black Ops was no slouch in the multiplayer department. Why? Well, mainly because in addition to the return and evolution of the wildly popular Zombies co-op mode, complete with an all-new top-down version called Dead Ops, immensely fun with friends, this was the game that introduced a boatload of creative new game modes that the series had never seen before. These were known in-game at the time as wager matches, and would consist of 4 new match types that would test your ability to think on your feet, as well as your sense of aim and ability to pull that itchy trigger finger rather quickly. These ranged from gun game, where you would advance through a predetermined roster of weapons. You had Sticks and Stones, which reduced your arsenal to a simple crossbow, ballistic knife, and the tomahawk. My personal favourite though was always One in the Chamber, where every player spawned with a knife and 1 bullet only, being awarded with another one upon every kill. Match types like this forced you to think very differently and more tactfully compared to more traditional multiplayer modes, and some of them would even go on to become fan favourites in future Call of Duty multiplayer entries to come. All this isn't to detract from the standard suite of modes, with Black Ops playing fantastically and offering players more advanced customization options than ever, with new emblems and weapon skins, all during a time largely set before the microtransaction era fully took hold. Popping off headshots with a smiley face as your gun reticle never failed to entice a chuckle, and new kill streaks like the RCXD and SAM turret encouraged you to rack up those kill streaks more than ever as creatively as possible. Anyways, if we're focusing purely on multiplayer, I can end this debate right now by uttering just one phrase: Nuketown, baby. One of the most popular PvP maps of all time that is constantly being remade. From zombie-infested versions of it to those set in the far future of 2025. No Black Ops game since has been safe from this map's 2 townhouses, tight sightlines, and the absolute anarchy that always ensues whenever you're forced to play domination on it. Absolute bliss.
I mean, come on. I've won this entire argument based on this one section alone, surely. Call of Duty 4 provided the framework for multiplayer shooters that is still being built upon by every major release 14 years later. Before Modern Warfare, multiplayer games were about playing competitively for the sake of being competitive. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong, but Modern Warfare introduced a progression system that changed the landscape of multiplayer games forever. Inspired by RPGs and massively multiplayer online games such as World of Warcraft, experience points earned by completing challenges in-game allowed players to level up, with each level unlocking new weapons, perks, and pieces of useful equipment that gave you a slight advantage on the battlefield. Suddenly, players were given multiple incentives not only to keep playing in general, but to also experiment with the vast array of gear packed into the game. It was a revolutionary addition that left every multiplayer game that launched before COD 4 feel aimless in comparison. Of course, today, in an era where engagement is the primary metric publishers will use to determine a game's success, the progression systems in Modern Warfare seem almost quaint in comparison. It's bare bones, sure, but it puts the game itself front and center, relegating progression mechanics to the back seat. Whereas in Fortnite and even Warzone, progression arguably is the game, Modern Warfare was the total opposite. This was a flawless multiplayer suite, one that featured tightly designed maps, exquisite weapons, and a trio of exceptional assistance mechanics that rewarded those in first place. I mean, come on, there is an entire generation of players who will be overcome with a wave of nostalgia from simply hearing the phrase UAV online. From this point on, Call of Duty's multiplayer became messy, kind of overly complex. As each iteration attempted to add something new to keep players buying the next annual release, Modern Warfare's original vision became blurry in the process. But back then, in those halcyon days of 2007, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare's multiplayer mode was a revelation, a portal to a world of joy. It simply cannot, and has not, ever been beaten, even by newer versions of itself.
Okay, Liam, you put up a good fight there, but hopefully, the viewers appreciate an underdog.
Hey, you know what, Aaron? At the end of the day, it's all about which Call of Duty game is the best, whether it's the masterpiece that single-handedly redefined a genre, or whichever one you spoke about.
Yeah, I hope you're comfy sleeping in your ghillie suit tonight. So impractical.
I don't know what you mean, Aaron. I slept like a baby, albeit one that looks like a badly trimmed hedge. Anyway, who made the best case for their favourite Call of Duty game? Once again, the choice is in your hands.
That's right, Modern Warfare, or Black Ops. We've just posted an official poll over on the YouTube community tab on the Push Square page, so be sure to cast your vote and let us know which game you think came out on top in this debate. Until then, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a like and consider subscribing to the Push Square YouTube channel for everything else PlayStation related. Until next time, from me and Liam, we'll see you in the next one.